everybody, and welcome to this week's Motivation Assist podcast. I'm very excited today because we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Paula Gilvarry. Thank you for joining us, Paula.
Thank you.
I'm sure who may know, but many of you I'm sure do, that Paula has written a book, very successful book, recipe book I should say, called Doctor on a Diet, and I have to say loved it. It's in my kitchen, thanks to Michael actually got it for me, and love it, and I love the colour and everything, and it's simple and very similar to our own plans, eating plans. So thank you so much for coming in, Paula. We're very grateful. If you don't mind starting with telling the listeners what encouraged you to come into Motivation. When did you start the programme, and what made you pick up the phone, and why Motivation?
I've been dieting all my life, since I was 16 or younger. And I have gone up weight and down weight and up weight and down weight, and I've done every diet in the book. And then it was probably 24 years ago or less, maybe 22 or 25, that I contacted Motivation in Dublin. And I went to Motivation in Dublin and I lost weight and I kept it off for a while. And then I went back to my old habits again, not having really learned what the problem was. And then maybe 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, I had retired. I had a lot of weight on, and I was just getting to the point where I thought, I don't want to be an old lady who's too heavy to be lifted. I don't want to be a burden on people. I want to be able to run after grandchildren or grandnieces and nephews. So I started to think about it, and I actually contacted Motivation in Sligo. And it took me nearly 6 months to actually get up the enthusiasm and the motivation to go along. And I went along and I picked my daughter's birthday, which is the 9th of June, to start. I started on the 9th of June and I kept it going. Now, I did have a medical condition which happened in July, at which point I was down a stone. And when I went into hospital, they said, you have heart arrhythmia, atrial fibrillation. We can control it by medication, but for every 10% of body weight you lose, you're going to reduce your risk of the atrial fibrillation recurring by 15%. So it was a kind of a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. So I now had I had started with the pleasure principle of losing weight. Now I had the pain principle as well. I was saying, this has to go. So that really made me continue. And I continued, but I got very bored with the food because I'm a real foodie. I've been cooking since I was 11. And I also ran a restaurant, and we also ran a food business. So I started experimenting and came up with a lot of recipes, and then got my husband to type them up. And then we did diet demonstration days in January of last year, and then I said, right, I'll do a book. So I was lucky that I had a few contacts, including Neville Maguire, who was very kind to recommend me, and my brother-in-law Francis Brennan, and they recommended me to Gil, and Gil took me on, and the book was published. They gave me 9 weeks to write it.
Wow, pressure.
Pressure. Yeah, I think sure. I lost about half a stone through the pressure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I got into the groove for the first time ever. I worked very closely with my counsellor, and I kind of thought, now, Paula, you know what this is about. You know why this programme works. You know how it works. And you're looking at, you've decided you're going to lose the weight slowly. You're going to do that, on a weekly basis. And I worked very hard at it. And anybody that I recommended to go to Motivation, I said to them, do not just go in here thinking you're going on a diet. You have to listen and you have to learn. And anybody who did that, a few of my friends kept with it, are delighted now that they listened and they learnt and they figured out, why did this happen to me and how can I stop it happening again?
Super. And you've mentioned the why there. You've mentioned habits. And we've just done a consultation. It's the first time that I've met you for a consultation. We looked at the habits and behaviours, and I don't have the copy in front of me, but I can remember from having done the consultation just now. Starting off, we looked back on your very first report. That's your mental weight was, remind me what your mental weight was when you first came.
nearly 17
Nearly
stone.
17 stone. Okay. And your physical weight, what was your physical weight?
It was
Can you remember?
16.5.
Okay. So, and there were lots of, we always say the reds are the areas to improve. So there are lots of habits and behaviours. So we just had a look there now at your most recent mental weight report. And what did that come up? Can you remember what it was?
11, 12.
Okay, so that would suggest you're now thinking and behaving like a healthier person, healthier habits and behaviours and attitudes. Do you feel that yourself? Do you feel your mindset has changed?
Oh, 100%. And what is even more interesting is that when I got to the goal weight and when I started on the kind of maintenance, I was terrified because I thought, can I do this? And I kept saying to Anne, I said, is this embedded yet? And then suddenly it clicks that you're thinking like that kind of person. And when I open the fridge, I look in and I don't go for the breads and the pastries and the sausages and the rashers. I go for the salads and the tomatoes, and I think, right now, all that's there, I'll throw together something with this. So I think like that. I drink gallons of water automatically. And if I have, and I've had a very stressful time recently, if I have a really bad day, I don't ever get annoyed with myself about it. I say, right, tomorrow, off we go again. I kind of say, no guilt. The guilt is gone, which for me is incredible because I was always guilty and always beating myself up. Now I say, okay, that's fine. Keep going.
Wonderful. And you saw those changes. We didn't get to go through the full report, but we could see all the changes like that you're saying. The other thing, if you're okay to talk about it, and based on what you just said there, that I think you mentioned to me, it mentioned it to me in the consultation, that it's learning, and your consultant told you it's okay to slip. There's going to be weeks that the scale will be up, and you said something that you knew was the first time that you felt comfortable coming in when your weight was up.
Before that, I am still a perfectionist, but I think I have it more under control. If I had failed, in other words, if in my mind I had failed by not losing weight, I didn't want to go. And I overcame that by saying, I'm going anyway. I'm just going to go and talk through this and see how I can keep going on this. So that for me was a major change, And the other thing which I've said to people is that, people say, oh, you're fat because you don't have willpower. There's nothing to do with willpower. And I didn't. I always thought I can do this. And I did it for years on my own. And then all of a sudden, no, I can't do this. It's not about willpower. It's about changing how you feel and how you think.
And motivation, actually, you're dead right. People often think motivation is willpower. I need willpower. And we're always saying, Dr. LaRocca has said it himself, motivation is actually an emotion, so why you want to do it. And I think you've said you touched on pleasure and pain, and pleasure is fine. It's nearly always the wedding or wanting to fit into the dress, whereas the pain button, that's a stronger motivation. So you had that. We talked about, speaking of slips then and the weight going up, your weight was great. You were down in weight today, which is, and more importantly, fat weight. We've had that conversation, fat mass rather than weight. We did talk about a slip, so if you're okay to share that. You did say you had a slip this week, and then the conversation we had, as we do with all clients, and what makes our program different is identifying why, and was it a physiological or a psychological slip. And I think you were quite aware. We're saying that you were aware of, what did you figure it was? Did you say?
Oh, well, I mean, we were out celebrating, and it was definitely a reward. And it was kind of, God, I haven't done this for ages, and I won't be doing it again for ages. But I'm really enjoying this, and I'm not going to feel at all guilty about it. I know why I'm having it. And I used to say to Anne, that she said, you're going out tonight. And I say, yes, but I choose what I'm doing. I have already chosen what I'm going to have. And maybe that I'm choosing to have the extra dessert or the half a dessert, or I'm choosing not to, but it's my choice. It's not your choice. Spontaneous.
It's one of the titles of the audio. It's your choice. Absolutely, it is your choice. The maintenance also, you mentioned, and we had this conversation, that if there's one important message to get across to clients and to listeners out there who may have done the program before or who are considering doing it, have tried losing weight and put it back on, the maintenance part, keeping it off, is so important.
Oh yeah, I mean, I I did manage it for a while on my own, but then I began to realise that the pounds were creeping up. Not a lot of pounds, but for the first time in my life, having been on all of these diets and having lost tons of weight, I didn't actually say, oh, flip, that's it. I thought, hold on a minute, Paula, you better get and do something. You've worked very hard to lose this weight. You do not want to put it on again. You need to go and get back on the programme. And I felt very proud of myself that I had actually only let a couple of pounds go on.
Super.
That I would say, right, come on, get them off again. Don't go and beat yourself up about it, just do something.
Super. So again, as you say, the whole thinking, whole mindset had changed. We had a conversation also inside, and I say this time and time again, I think I've been saying it for 20 whatever years. There's so many pieces of the program. It is like a jigsaw. So we have the handouts to motivate you. We discussed your handout and visualization and picturing yourself, positive thinking and visualization. And we talked about the audios. The audios, I would have always said, as important as each piece is, the audios to me are the most important, because it's the only way you're going to reprogram. And you had said, which I was thrilled to hear, that you are very into meditation. So how do you find the audios in that regard?
I find the audios great, and I mean, even the fact that you're taking a break away from the day and you're giving yourself that 10-15 minutes. And when I did the programme all those years ago, I used to go out into my car, put the cassette on in the car and listen to it. Because it was cassettes then, it's that long ago, and it was the quietest place I could find, and I did it religiously at lunchtime every day. And I mean, the other thing is the relaxation at the end. It is very important because it does allow that audio to assimilate, and you then associate it with feeling good, which I think was very important for me.
Yeah, super, absolutely super. So your target weight is, you've a little bit to go?
Yeah, I have. I don't know, many pounds. I actually don't really look at the pounds. I mean, I look at the fat mass. And I look at the visceral fat, which as a doctor I realise is very important. That I do not want extra visceral fat. I want my heart and all the rest to stay healthy. So the weight actually is not that important to me. I have a belt at home. And when I saw that belt beginning to get a bit tighter, I thought, oops, that's it. So the belt is the most important thing to me. And the other thing is that I don't have any clothes. I have loose dresses and stuff, but I don't have any jeans with elastic in them, because they're a killer. Get rid of them.
Absolutely, get too comfortable. They stretch with you, absolutely. So it's interesting. It is about the awareness, and you know what I love to, and I nearly found myself saying it to you in the consultations, but actually thinking back, we were saying it to each other. You were, I don't know if you noticed, but you were kind of saying to me, and you know this, and I was saying to you, and you know this. And I think, do you know what comes to mind? We do know it, and obviously you're a doctor. Isn't it, you know that phrase, doctor, heal thyself?
Physician, heal thyself.
Physician, heal thyself. It made me think, like, and we had a lovely conversation that you've been years and years practicing as a doctor. You also do counselling work, I think you told me, and you're helping other people. So it's nice, you know, and I often say this to clients who come in as well, and I'm sure you do in your practice or have done, that, you know, who's looking after you? So to hear you say the guilt is gone and the perfectionism, and your time for you now, which is wonderful, which is absolutely wonderful. And your goal, I know, is the red dress.
Yes, I have a lovely red dress. It's actually it's not Ralph Lauren. I couldn't afford that, but it's Ralph Lauren's range through Next, I think. It's a very nice red dress, and I need to be at my slimmest to wear it. I wore it for the launch of my book last October, and we will be having a going away party. We're a great party house, so we'll be having a going away party when we leave our house, which we've hopefully sold, and I'll be wearing that dress without a doubt.
Lovely, lovely. And I love the way you said there's no ifs. I often say to people, if they're saying if I get to, I go, what's this if business? So you're definitely gonna achieve that without a doubt. Just back to the diet part, and the fact that you said you're a foodie, and the fact that you've written a recipe book. We had a conversation, I think we were talking on the phone last week, and I think this is important for listeners also, and it was great it came up for you and I in conversation, because there's an awful lot of protein products out there, and I know people making homemade products thinking that they're very high in protein or sufficient in protein. And I think you'd mentioned it was a protein balls or protein something.
Yeah.
But when we analysed it, and you were quite open in saying it to me today as well, you realise, and when we broke it down, that in order to lose weight, they might be okay for maintaining if you're at a healthy weight. But we found, I think they were quite high in sugar, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of carbohydrates in them. Yeah.
Okay. So just from a point of view of losing weight, to say to listeners out there, just to keep an eye on the difference between protein for healthy eating versus protein if you're trying to lose weight. There is a difference.
Oh, there is a huge difference, yeah. And it is very difficult to get a bar that has very low sugar and high protein. You find a huge number. I mean, I've read all of them, and it's very hard to find one with that in it.
Yeah, very hard. So that's why we have to actually import them. So it's we
and also to get them to taste right.
Yeah, exactly. So do you like our protein snacks?
I like the protein bars. Yeah. Some of the others wouldn't be to my taste, but I like the protein bars.
Yeah, it is different taste, isn't it? Yeah, different taste. So we have only a little bit, I think you've only a little bit of way to go for that red dress.
That's all,
yeah. And you're going to celebrate in the house with the party. And I've no doubt that you will succeed. I can't thank you enough for coming in and taking the time to see us. And I look forward to talking to you. I'm going to be talking to you over the next few weeks and helping you get to the target. And you never know, I might come down and visit. I might be invited to the party.
Yes,
maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I didn't know, I never said at the beginning, do you want to be referred to as Dr. Gilvarry or Paula?
Paula is perfect.
I think all doctors are first name terms. So thank you, Paula, so much. I really appreciate you coming in. And thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's Motivation Assist podcast. And we look forward to sharing another podcast with you soon.